show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Champions Belt Club Podcast. My name is Jason Davis, and I'm here with my brother from another mother, Mr. Tony T. How you doing tonight, Tony?
I am nursing a bit of a hangover because of my birthday on Saturday, and I'm still feeling rough today. I'm not going to lie. 2 days later.
Oh, man. Hang in there. Hang in there. I was always told the best cure is to just stay drunk.
Well, I'm no. I'm not feeling bad. I just had wrestling, so I'm a little stiff from that too. So, but I'm excited for our guests tonight. I'm excited for our show.
Well, without further ado, why don't we introduce our guest? I'll just cue the music. To the show, our very good friend, Mr. Ben Walker from Championship Belt Brothers. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to do the show with you guys, man. I hold you guys in high regard.
I can't even tell you. I've been wanting to chat Japanese wrestling with you forever, so I'm really glad to connect and have the chance to hang out and talk wrestling in general, but it's absolutely thrilling to have you here, man. We're really thrilled to have you. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It was actually one of the first. I remember reaching out to you probably a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, when I first got into the hobby, and we struck up a friendship from there. And he gave me great advice and always supported me when I do my new belt day videos on this group, which I'm very thankful for. So it is cool to have you here, man. You're a wealth of knowledge and just a good dude.
I'll say this too, having been in the hobby now for 3 years myself, it's very rare to meet somebody in the hobby that's been in it as long as Ben has, that people don't say anything negative about the guy. Like Ben's a solid dude. Everybody talks positively about Ben. He's honest. He's straightforward with everybody, and that's pretty awesome. I got to say that's a major accomplishment.
I just try to be me, man. Just try to be normal, someone that you want to respect, and and I want to treat people like I want to be treated. If you do that, oh, hey Max, how's it going?
How's it going, Max?
Yeah, I just try to be normal, have fun, be presentable, be approachable. Like Tony said, him and I had that. I always remember our first conversation. We talked for hours.
Yeah.
And it was just a great exchange, probably one of the best exchange. And I'd like to thank you, Tony, for that, because you reached out to me.
Yeah.
I get that, but your conversation has always held on to me because it was very enlightening. It was very, very interesting, and it was a great exchange. So I always hold that in high regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I was nervous as hell too, and then I finally said, "Oh fuck it, I was gonna give him a FaceTime," and I called you up, and I felt bad because you're in the middle of eating your dinner. So, but yeah, the one, there was that one funny thing a couple months ago when some robot clone was on Facebook. Remember that, Ben? And I stuck up for you. He said something. I was like, "Whoa, whoa!" It was oh man, do you remember that? There was some clone, like some hacked account, some fake bogus guy's account.
Tim Bofa.
That's it.
Tim
Fuck, his
Bofa.
name, I didn't remember
Tim
his name.
Bofa, Jake Boston, same guy.
Yeah.
That guy is no longer that is no longer on Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and we get it. We all get it. We get the people that like to troll, and we get the people that like to stir the pot. And I try to stay away from that. I try to help people stay away from that because life is short, man. We're only here for 70 damn years, man.
We're
lucky.
This, and it's a hobby, guys. We're here to have fun.
Right.
We're not here for the drama.
Right. And I get it. And I get some people, they have this jealousy for other people for no good reason. And it's ridiculous. So why even bother with that?
Speaking of membership, we hit a pretty monumental number there last weekend, and we didn't get a chance to sort of acknowledge it. So just wanted to say that live here. We this is baby steps compared to some other groups, but we managed to hit 500 members in Championship Belt Club podcast, or Belt Club, not podcast. So we wanted to just give a shout out to everybody on the page and say thank you very much for being a part of the group and for visiting us daily for the trivia and for the various things we post. And thanks so much.
Congratulations.
You do 90% of the work, Jason. So it's all you, really.
No, man. No. Our membership numbers jump when you post those videos, brother. So trust me, you're a big part of it. So
yeah, I guess we contribute in different ways.
Absolutely. It takes all kinds.
You guys do great, man, and that's just an testament to your character. You guys put in the time, you care, and you're interactive. So the both of you, congratulations. Keep up the great work, man.
Thank you.
And I always go. I pop in there in your group too. I've distanced myself from so many other groups. Recently, and your group is not one of them. I still go in there.
We appreciate it, man. We love having you there. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Really do. So we have a few topics we can talk about tonight. It's in this little section we like to call Dirt Sheets and Draws. I'll cue that up. All right, so this is our opportunity to just chat a little bit about what's going on in the world of pro wrestling over the last week or so. One of the things that happened recently was the debut of a new belt in the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong brand that is sort of centered or focused in the U.S. market. So they have their LA dojo, of course, which they've had for quite a while, and so they're running quite a few pay-per-views now over in the U.S. In the California market. And they've really sort of refocused this specific brand as an American-focused brand. And they recently released the new Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Championship title last weekend, which is very similar in style and look to the previous two belts or style belts that were released. Of course, the Openweight Championship being the first, the Tag Team Championship being the second, and now we have a Women's Championship. The picture doesn't do it very good justice. It looks very pink in the photo. It's actually more of a mauve purple color. It's actually really nice. It's actually a really nice color in the shots and the photos. What do you guys think about these belts? Are you liking them? Are they not to your taste?
I'll let Ben go first.
I like it. I actually have one of them. I had one made.
Excellent.
It's an interesting design, a nice look. It's a change. Not it's not as more of a like classic look. It's more of a fresh newer kind of look. But I don't have any problem with the design. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I like it. I like the start. I like that sunburst look in the center plate and on the side dial plates that they have there. Sort of, connotates the sun, which is a big part of the sort of the iconic look of the Japanese flag and their a lot of their imagery. And I kind of like the color differentiation between the belts is kind of cool. It's kind of a nice thing. I think it's definitely a logo. It's definitely more of a branding sort of a look compared most where a lot of their other belts are much more trophy and traditional style. That one's more of a branding style, but I think they're doing it a little better than WWE's been doing it over the last 10, 15 years. So it's kind of nice to see somebody be able to mix marketing and branding with a belt that still has sort of a classic or more of a championship look. So yeah, I like it.
They all look great, all three.
I like it. So following up with that, we actually went into last weekend. We had New Japan Strong had its Resurgence pay-per-view, and had a women's tournament for that belt. Most people's money was on of course, Mercedes Moné coming out of that tournament and winning. They flipped the script on everybody, and it was actually Nightingale that actually came through and won the tournament. And unfortunately, apparently, Mercedes has actually broke her ankle during their final match of the evening, and she's going to be out for quite some time now, healing that injury. So they flipped the script on that. They also the Aussie Open Tag Team, who were currently the IWGP Tag and New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Tag champions, had to relinquish their titles due to an injury with Mark Davis, who is out for the foreseeable future. And we saw the title come back to Kenta Kobashi, winning it back from Hikuleo. I can never get that dude's name right. Hikuleo, who is the younger son of Haku.
Yep. Oh, wow.
So pretty eventful pay-per-view for them. I think it was well received. I think fans that are fans of the Japanese style and the Japanese strong style certainly enjoy the pay-per-view. It's a relatively new brand in the American market, so it's going to take some time for them, I think, to sort of find some traction. But I definitely think there's room for that style of wrestling in the U.S. market, especially with the Forbidden Door pay-per-views and sharing talent with Impact and with AEW. More and more Americans are sort of getting turned on to the Japanese wrestling. So, what do you guys think?
That was a good show. I didn't see all of it, but I saw a good clip of it, and then I saw the match where Mercedes broke her ankle. That was a nasty fall she took. She slipped off the corner and hit the floor. And but overall, New Japan is definitely, especially Strong, is really coming along. You're starting to see a lot of different talent being built in that, just within New Japan Strong. And then it's the Forbidden Door is definitely going to open more opportunities to see their talent get exposed, they get to see more of an introduction to more of the North American market, not just America, but North American market.
Absolutely. What do you think, Tony?
I wish I'd watched it, and I am learning something tonight because I didn't know that the New Japan. So when I saw your New Japan Strong Belt, when you're showing me, well, you don't have it.
I don't have it yet. Yeah.
Anyway, when you were sending me pictures of it, I thought it was just their hardcore division. I didn't realize it was, and I thought to myself, why are they creating? So there's a tag team that's hardcore. There's a guy that's hardcore and a woman that's hardcore. I was like, I didn't get it. Now tonight's blowing my mind.
Yeah. So it's this whole other sort of North American brand that they've launched now that they're running shows with and they're sharing a lot of talent. Like on that particular pay-per-view, we had Ring of Honor contracted wrestlers and we had Impact contracted wrestlers who were on the pay-per-view. So there's quite a bit of talent sharing going on between
really
New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, and that's kind of an enticing kind of a market for a lot of the guys that are coming off the independents, where they can sort of wrestle for 2 or 3 promotions where they can get pay-per-view exposure and also get a bit of TV time, and these other promotions are kind of willing to offer those contracts now, like Impact and AEW are kind of letting people jump between promotions a little bit, whereas WWE wants to lock you down, lock, stock, and barrel. So it's that's kind of for some wrestlers, that's a more enticing sort of prospect. Obviously, the big money and the fame is with WWE in terms in the American market, but for a lot of people that are sort of interested in, sort of diversifying their work and sort of being seen in a lot of different markets, going that route seems to be a more enticing prospect for a lot of people now. So it's kind of cool that exists in its way. It's almost kind of the new territories in a strange way.
That's what I was just gonna say. It kind of reminds me of the territory days.
Yeah,
where you would see guys in the AWA, NWA, and the different territories within the NWA. I like it. I think it's good. As a guy who's training myself, like, you've met Covey, who's trained by Scott D'Amore, who runs Impact, right? Like, they're actually talking about this tonight about guys working the indies, and there's a huge resurgence now, I think. So, and I think part of that could be this way to work, that you can work not just in the Fed, right? The WWE. You can actually work, say you were lucky enough to sign a contract with Impact, and if you're good enough, you can now be on a New Japan Strong pay-per-view, working with some people you might not work with, or you could be with Ring of Honor, AEW.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe even MLW might even, or NWA could jump in. And
also too, what you're doing while you're going through that process, it isn't even just a question of exposure. It's also a question of building your own your own repertoire.
100%.
Like getting to work with a lot of different styles and a lot of different places where there are different focuses and different. To work a match in Japan is very different than working a match in Mexico. Is very different working a match up here in Canada or in the States. They're all very, they're all have a lot in common, but very subtly different in their own way. So somebody that can get onto these different promotions and sort of work all of these styles suddenly becomes a very valuable commodity to a promotion like WWE or somewhere else, where they can work a lot of different things and they have that base of experience. So,
well, I think you can also get these guys being those independent contractors working, doing all that, and they will get a following. And then if their contracts are up, then they might even be offered more money with the WWE, and they'll already have a fan base. And they won't have to, anyways, we could have a whole show talking about the pros.
Sure, no, of course, yeah. But I think you're seeing, like, if you look at the Cody Rhodes sort of saga of him leaving the WWE back when and going out to all the independents and winning belts, going over to New Japan and working with the wrestlers over there, working in Impact, working in Ring of Honor, and then coming back. I think one of the reasons he's fitting into there so well now is because he's got such a diverse base of experience working different styles now, where he only really ever knew the WWE style when he started in Florida and was trained by his dad and a few other wrestlers, and then went right into the essentially right into the main product. So now, you can throw him in with a Brock Lesnar, or you can throw him in with a Seth Rollins, or you can throw him in with a lot of different work styles, or Finn Balor or somebody like that, and he can work these different styles because and not just the WWE style, but more of an international style, which is in its own kind of weird way is kind of the new independent. So
no, I agree.
So interesting, definitely interesting times. The other big pay-per-views that happened over the past weekend were, of course, Night of Champions for the WWE. So we had all of these matchups. We had Brock, of course. We had the carry on of Brock and Cody in their series. We had the Seth Rollins AJ Styles match where we were determining the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. We had the tag match, which is a continuation of the Bloodline saga. We had Bianca Belair and Asuka. Bianca herself having just reached a pretty big milestone in terms of being the longest reigning WWE Raw Women's Champion. We had Rhea Ripley and Natalya, and then we had Gunther, Mustafa Ali, and then we had, of course, Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. I know you didn't get a chance to see any of this stuff this weekend, Tony. You want to take a guess on who won some of these matches?
I do know who won a bunch of these matches.
Do you?
I didn't watch because I was out all weekend. It was nuts. But was that the whole card? Because that's a nice card.
It was a pretty good card. Yeah.
And I know Trish beat Becky Lynch. I don't
Correct.
know. I don't know how that match went over. Gunther won his match.
We had Rhea winning. Yeah.
I would say she was going to win, and that was the one that she finally won, and that was a big deal because I don't know much about this wrestler, but I know that she's pretty over.
Yeah, so like one of the big reasons I think Asuka is so well respected is she was a long-time wrestler in the Japanese market long before she even got to WWE. So she had almost 20 years of wrestling experience before she even stepped foot in NXT.
Yeah.
So she was, she was a pretty important champion in some of the women federations over in Japan.
Yeah.
So she's got a lot of experience, quite a lot of experience, Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about these people working in other promotions and building their brand up before they get to the WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then the other matches, Gunther won.
Gunther won, of course, and then we had Kevin Owens and Sam. Yeah, go over, and then of course we had Brock go over.
Wow, I didn't know that, and that's weird.
Brock went over, and then we had Seth Rollins go over for the new championship. So
I hope the match was good because that was very predictable to me. Like I knew once I found out Seth was going to the final, I was like, oh, it's gonna be Seth.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. How did you feel? Did you catch any of it, Ben? Were you able to?
I watched Night of Champions.
Yeah. What did you think?
Overall, it was a good show. I didn't. We have these people that just want to put these lines and these walls and this restriction on what you want,
what you can like and what you can't like and this and that.
It's wrestling. It's the same format. Enjoy it. There's so much out there to watch.
Man, in 10 years, we're going to look back on this last, 5 years and the next 5 years going. And this is going to be like, man, you remember when we had all these options and all this stuff, you could watch wrestling every night of the week. And this is as good as it gets, man. Like this is golden age right now. Like there's so much going on.
You look at it between 2000 and 2002, just that 2-year gap, we lost WCW and ECW.
Mm-hmm.
Impact was just starting to try to put something together, or TNA.
And we almost lost all Japan.
And we almost lost all Japan.
Yeah,
because of the whole thing with Muta.
Yeah.
So just enjoy, guys. Come on. I mean, there's so many options out there. We shouldn't have to draw any lines or make.
I don't get this wrestling politics stuff, man. This tribalism. I don't get it.
Right.
Well, even like you look at I want to bring up the new NWA, Billy Corgan's NWA. People are pissing all over it now, saying how he's ruined it and how a couple of years ago it was better. It's like, really? Like I don't find it much different. It's still
not
good.
Much different. It's
not
much different.
People, I just find in wrestling, the fans, the smart marks, they kind of ruin it.
They're finicky, right?
Yeah.
And
anyhow,
a lot of times those are the guys I just don't. I read the comments, but I don't concentrate on that comment.
Yeah.
Because you see it all the time. Oh, AEW, they drew this rating and they had this many empty seats. Well, you knew it because you were watching it.
Yeah. So it's to me, it's like reading movie reviews. Like if I want to see the movie, I'm going to go see the movie. I'm not reading the reviews. Right. Yeah, I'm just going to go see the movie. I don't care what somebody else thought about the movie. I'll decide myself if I like the movie or don't like the movie.
It's like going out to eat. Yeah. You may like this restaurant, but I can't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you got to find out for yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
This could be the greatest restaurant you ever been to.
Yeah. I find that too with I think I've learned a lot since I started training for wrestling myself. You know, it's really brought up because I was a pure WWF guy. That was all I watched. And I stopped watching probably 10, 15 years ago because I didn't like it, right? Maybe even longer. And then now, I even said to my coach at the time, I was like, man, like there's a real renaissance going on right now with like MLW, NWA, Impact, Ring of Honor, AEW, All Japan, New Japan, House of Noah, whatever it's called, the AAA stuff in Mexico. Like there's so much to watch. And if you're a true fan of the art form that is wrestling, you're the luckiest human alive right now.
Just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Just sit back
awesome.
and watch.
Yeah.
And like I'm wearing a Hulk Hogan shirt. I love the 80s Hulk Hogan. I was a Hulkamaniac. I love that cheesy 80s wrestling. Some people hate it. It's just like, you know what, man? Like if you like wrestling, it's just like different types of music.
Mm.
You know? Anyhow.
Mm-hmm. I was really impressed with the pay-per-view. I was really impressed with Mustafa Ali, you got to say, with the match with Gunther. I thought that was really well booked. I thought he came out looking like $1 million through that match. If they don't do something with that dude, they're definitely missing the boat. He's a talented guy. I realized that programming him into that pay-per-view in that place was a lot to do with sort of trying to pander to that market. But there's just no doubt that guy is talented, and they really needed, and Gunther too. I mean, it was a great match because both parties could dance, and Gunther is a smart worker, and he knows how to work different styles, so that made it an interesting match. Gunther's definitely one of the guys to watch in 2024.
That guy is probably the best Intercontinental champion in the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. I actually ordered that Intercontinental belt just because of him.
Yeah,
he's making it mean something again.
Yeah, and I have to say, it didn't surprise me that Seth went over and took the belt. And it isn't really even, I think, a wrestling thing. I think it's just the fact that he's cast in a very big movie coming up. He's going to be in the new Captain America 4 movie that's coming out. And he's in filming that now. And I think having that belt around his waist when he goes on press junkets is a really smart marketing kind of move by the WWE. Having that belt around his waist makes sense. Right. Assuming he's still the champion when all that stuff starts to happen. And if you look back over the last year and a half, he's been their go-to guy. Outside of the bloodline storyline that's been happening in WWE, when they want somebody to work a celebrity, or they want somebody to sort of fit into a storyline, or fit into a match, they've been going to him. So kind of makes sense in a way.
A friend of mine who's in this group, Kevin Marriott is his name, said that Seth Rollins kind of reminds him of a modern day Shawn Michaels. Not in like they're not, I don't know, just like maybe the charisma, the flamboyance. If you think about it right now, like the guys from the Shield, I mean, they were pushed down our throat, but they're good workers. Like they're really, all three of them have turned into. Like, I mean, okay, people complain about Moxley bleeding a lot, but you look at all.
I don't think it's even just that he bleeds; it's that it's that he gigs he just lays in the corner and it just kind of does that with his forehead.
Right.
He doesn't even try to hide it. He doesn't even try to hide it. So he caught a lot of grief just because he was just blatant about bleeding. That's all.
Did you just get the alert?
Yeah, I did. It's just about campfires.
So we have a massive forest fire going on here in Nova Scotia. These wildfires. We're not a very big province, Ben, and Jason's actually lives really close to where I live, and we get this emergency broadcast thing over our phones telling us we can't have, campfires. They've been updating us on
I remember I live in Colorado.
Yeah,
so I get that all the time.
We almost
so you're in Eastern Canada, right?
That's right.
The Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, because
Boston.
Here in the Western United States, we're getting smoke from a fire up in Canada. coming
Yeah,
down
from
the Rocky
Alberta.
Mountains.
From Alberta.
Alberta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That's the one coming down the Rocky Mountains covering
Yeah.
us. So
Yeah.
we've been having the quality air alerts.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. But there were some decent matches in that. I felt bad for Natalia. That felt like I'm not sure why she flew over the ocean for that match.
Yeah.
Because they
Right.
squashed her in under a minute. Like I think she's at a point now where she's going to have to start thinking about whether or not, like, if they don't see her as any, like, if she's not worth more to them than a 40-second match, squash match, she might want to think about looking for work somewhere else, or maybe moving into the training, into a trainer role or something like that backstage.
Isn't that what her husband does now?
Yeah, he's been a producer. He's actually producing now. TJ been producing
wow.
backstage for a while. So yeah, for the better part of a couple of years. So he's quite good at it, apparently, by all accounts. So
he got injured or something, and that's what ended his career. Is that correct?
Yeah, he took a muscle buster from Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And it busted his neck up. So
yeah,
he was told not to get back in the ring.
yeah. But some some decent matches. I thought, all in all, pretty good pay-per-view. And then, of course, last night we had New Japan. Not New Japan. We had AEW Double or Nothing, of course, came on last night. We had a trios match. House of Black came forward in that. We had the AEW Women's World Champion that switched hands to Toni Storm.
I didn't expect that. But that,
Yeah,
hey.
Good match though.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
good
love
match.
I love her.
We had a swerve. We had Jade Cargill won initially against Valkyrie. Good match. What's her name? Really contributed a lot to that match. A little more. She carried it a little bit more than Jade did. Really, honestly,
Yeah.
She did a lot of the work in that match. And then she, of course, did an open challenge after the match because she was super confident, and she got smoked by Chris Statlander,
Who's
who came
that?
in.
She knew.
So
Right.
she was a member of the what's that group, the Buddies or whatever it was.
Best friends or
Best friends. Yeah.
Right.
She has been there for so long, but she always get injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm surprised that they put her over like that.
Yeah, I was too. It was kind of came from nowhere. There was no preempt or any kind of buzz about it at all. So that was a bit of a surprise.
There wasn't even rumors of her showing up on.
No, and they did a big. I guess the only thing that the only hint they kind of dropped is that they went on a big press thing last weekend with Jade and talked about the fact that she was 60-0 as of the pay-per-view, and that she had gone 500 matches consecutively without being pinned.
Right.
And so they made that kind of, I guess that was maybe the hint, I suppose, is they were setting her up to sort of promote her so that they could pull that out. So then we had the Blackpool Combat Club going up against the Elite, and there was a swerve from what was the gentleman's name? The new Japanese wrestler. I can't think of his name. Huh? That's him. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Takeshita flipped on the Elite and joined the Blackpool Combat Club. How are you enjoying the Blackpool Combat Club, Ben?
Yes, I like that. I like that group. I like that stable.
I do too.
I'm gonna have to get me a BCC t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it as well.
Kind of give me a little Bullet Club kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But as long as they don't make them too big, just probably cut it where it's at right now.
Yeah. I'm enjoying Daniel Bryan in this role.
Mm-hmm.
I like him.
Yeah.
I like this character that we're seeing from him now.
They're like cool heels.
Yeah, they are, and you're getting kind of a bit of the old Ring of Honor Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, but you're getting, but still a nod to the WWE guy that he was before, and
right.
a little bit of something new now as well. So, yeah, I like it. And then no big surprise there. Wardlow went over, still reigning TNT champion in a ladder match. Not really his forte, but decent match.
I saw the highlight of him jumping off that giant 18-foot ladder, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
24. That was wild.
What about when he jumped on that ladder and broke it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he broke his leg when he did that because he kind of like you know,
Yeah.
looked like he was hurt when
Mm-hmm.
he jumped and that rung snapped on that ladder. I was like, oh, that don't look
Mm-hmm.
good.
I actually thought he got cut up from it too, but
Oh, that too, yeah, because
yeah,
he kept grabbing his shin.
yeah, yeah. And then we had Orange Cassidy going over as the AEW International Champion. He also won the Battle Royal as well. So yeah, not a huge change over championships. The FTR are the still the AEW World Tag Team Champions. Good match, high paced.
Yeah.
Yeah, good match. I enjoy their work. I'm still a big fan of FTR. I know that they're kind of now getting to the point where it almost seems like their popularity is flipping into people kind of getting sick of them. But I still enjoy their work.
Jared, for his age, still looks good in that ring, man.
He does, yeah. And I love anytime I can see Jay Lethal, I'm happy. So because I really enjoy his work.
That guy's near 60 years old.
Yeah,
he's getting near 60 years old, man. And he, I remember watching him down in the USWA in Memphis and CWA when I would go down there in the summer. So yeah. It's still it's amazing to see him and Billy Gunn still glowing at their age.
Yeah. And looking better in a lot of ways. Gunn looks better than he did in his WWF days.
He looks better than most of the roster.
Yeah. And Adam Cole went up against Chris Jericho and came through. Sabu was the special referee, so it's kind of nice to see a bit of a nod to the old to the hardcore in the old ECW days, which was kind of nice. It's weird to see Sabu in a suit, but it was cool.
Yeah.
Cool match. And then of course we had MJF going over as the still AEW World Champion. Don't see them getting off the MJF bus anytime soon.
I think it'd be Wardlow to take it off of them if they work that that program, get that program going.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to someone earlier and I was like, they should do a slow build towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, didn't have the payoff, and probably what I would slow build until like middle of next year.
That makes sense.
And, just let Wardlow build up again, build up as he's already pretty popular, but you want your world champion to be real strong.
Yeah, that's smart because it also gives you an opportunity to elevate Wardlow's title at the same time too.
Right,
so
right.
So whoever gets to take that off him after fact gets that rub. So
right.
Yeah, no, that's smart booking. Man, they should hire you, Ben.
I don't know. I'm probably gonna cost too much.
Oh, there you go. So I thought maybe next we might pop into our belt of the week, and one of our new traditions that I'd like to sort of continue going on is to let our guests feature a belt each week. So I'm just going to cue this up real quick. So this little segment in our podcast is meant to be a nod to Tony's ever so famous and very popular new Belt Day videos that get posted in a lot of the belt groups. And so we like to do what we call Belt of the Week, where we feature a belt, a favorite belt of our guest, and maybe also a favorite belt of Tony. I think Tony has one as well tonight. But we thought we'd start with you first, Ben. What do you have for us?
First of all, I want to say nod to Tony. Great, fantastic unboxing videos. You do the best videos. You show the best charisma. You give off a energy, a vibe, and you make it positive. And you're honest with your opinion. I tell you all the time, and I just tell you by typing, but here physically, I want to tell you, thank you for that. Thank you. You're always a great asset to this belt community, this belt hobby, the wrestling community, the wrestling hobby.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an honor, and I appreciate it that like groups like yours allow me to do it. And I've been asked by a couple others to do it, so it's nice when people acknowledge you and like the work you do. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I have people always feedback about your videos, and they love your videos, and just keep on doing them anytime. You're welcome anytime in Championship Belt. Brother.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
So,
look at this.
So, I have here.
Oh my God!
Look at that.
The 7-plater NWA Junior Heavyweight title.
Nice.
That is
Worn by Lasertron,
sexy as hell. That is.
aka Hector Guerrero.
I just so happen to have a graphic right here. Now, what I love about this belt, besides the fact that it's absolutely beautiful, and it is, I love that it was held by Lasertron, and I love that it. So Tony, Ben, and I were talking before the podcast earlier about laser tag. Did you have that when you were a kid?
Laser tag. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this whole character was built around the game. About this whole
right.
thing was with the chest sensor and the gun and the holster that you'd get in the kit.
Yeah. I see the chest thing there. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Well,
that's a beautiful belt.
We're Gen Xers, so we don't know how harmful those lasers.
People getting their eyes burned out.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't really know how dangerous, but we're Gen Xers, so we were built out of concrete. Our generation was built out of concrete. So
man, that's a beautiful. I love the contrast to the center plate with the round plates on the side.
Yes,
that's beautiful.
For some reason, this design always stood out to me, and I would get this belt, and I would want to keep it for myself. And then I would always get someone, they'll see my live, like, man, could you sell me that belt? And I'm like, all right, I'll go order another one. And then I don't order another one for myself.
So if you're watching the show right now in the chats, just mention to Ben that you'd like that belt, and I'm sure he'll give it to you. He'll sell it to you.
I don't know.
No.
I know. And every time, like I said, every time I get that belt, it leaves my hands, and this is probably the
that's
longest.
going on my list of belts for sure. That's a beauty. I didn't even know.
And I always that design has always caught my eye and stood out.
Yeah, love it. What were you going to say, Tony?
I love his belt. I think it's beautiful. I never saw it before until he posted it. I thought it was like I seen a version that was like a red dome globe. That belt, and I think a different one of the junior,
which would have been the first version of the belt, I believe, is the red strapped that's similar to the NWA Heavyweight Championship. And then they had one that looked like a globe in the center, big round plate in the center with kind of globes on either side as well. And then this one, apparently, Ben and I were doing a little research on it to see if we could find the timeline and the lineage of it, and it was exclusive to. It was exclusive to Lasertron, who was, of course, Hector Guerrero. So
it's a nice looking belt, Ben.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I love that design.
I think they're nuts for not keeping that belt design because it's beautiful.
Or they could have brought that to the current product right now.
Yeah,
and it would have fit in. It's just that design always stood out to me, and I always one of my favorite NWA designs.
Sweet. And what did you want? Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
NWA's always had great belts. They always have had really good belts.
Classics. And Tony, you had one first tonight as well. What did you bring?
Are you going to show the graphic or?
I will, but I thought I'd let you. I'd let you have the spotlight first, and then I'll pull the graphic up.
So this was made by Max. I have this belt for. So there's one behind me made by Ali Nasir. That's the Ultimate Warrior one. The Winged Eagle. This is one I recently got from Max McGall on 24 karat leather or gold, 24 karat gold plated leather. It's really floppy, as you can see, and the tooling is just. I love the tooling he did.
Nice.
Yeah, he did a good job. I love this belt. I have one here from Muhammad Arham that's really nice as well. So I got Max's and Muhammad's. They're both gold.
Yeah.
And then I showed you earlier my very first belt.
See, now I love this. I think this is everything I love about the belt hobby. Yeah. I love this.
Like how it's grown from this first one that was like paper thin.
But how many of us started with that though, right?
Yeah. That belt brought a tear to my eye. Like I got that Father's Day 3 years ago, or almost 4 years ago, and when they handed it to me, it was like my entire childhood. All the trampling wrestling, backyard wrestling matches and everything we had as kids.
Yeah.
The foam belts, which I have somewhere in my closet there. This thing it showed up,
Just,
and it,
can you lift that up and just show us the side view of that? Let me just so I can sort of show everybody at home.
how thin it is,
Kind of what we're talking about. Yeah.
like how thin this belt is.
Like when you look at it from the front, it looks like a $250, $300
Yeah,
kind of belt, right?
yeah.
Maybe
See how thin it is. But Max, the one Max got me, like Muhammad Arham's is beautiful, but this one with the gold plating on it, it's just a little easier, right? Like I don't know.
But man, if we could have gotten our hands on that 1 millimeter belt when we were like 13 years old,
yeah,
man, you'd have been king of the neighborhood.
Right.
Oh, would you ever, right? I don't care
People
where
would
you
have thought
live,
you.
Canada or US.
People would have thought you were
Hey, man,
you were a real wrestler then.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I get such a kick now when I watch the chats and the forums and stuff, and people nitpick the smallest little details and the that's not TV accurate and all that stuff that people get into and that, and I'm like, man, we have come so far.
Yeah, it's true. Like if if I had got this in 1989, 1988 as a kid, I would have been the coolest fucking kid in school.
Oh man,
I would have got my ass kicked and I still wouldn't have it. It would be gone. Someone would take it. And it's like on terrible leather. This isn't yours, Max. This is the brass. My first one, the brass one. And but it's awesome. This belt right here led me to try out wrestling for myself. So all the headaches I have are because of this belt.
All those aches and pains.
Yeah. So anyhow,
that's awesome. You want to hold up Max's belt one more time for us? Let's just take a look at that one more time.
Here's Max's. This one's awesome. And you can see.
Nice job, Max. Nice job.
You can definitely see the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Very nice.
And hey, Arham's and Ali Nasir's, these are also really nice too for the Winged Eagle. Like he did a great job. Ali did a great job on this. And Muhammad did a great job on his too. This one doesn't have
Gianni.
So.
How you doing, brother?
Okay, cool. Who's up? What's up next? What's going on?
What's up next? All right, so we're gonna do our quiz of the evening. I'm gonna post a series of belts this wrestler won, and see if you guys at home can guess who it is, and mention who you think it is in the comments. So this particular wrestler won the NWE World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE World Championship, WWE Intercontinental Championship, WCWA Texas Heavyweight Championship, and the WCWA World Tag Team Championship. Give you just a few minutes to see if you guys can come up with an answer and put it in the comments. Take part in the show and let us know what you think.
I hope so.
Nice. And we have no answers in the chat tonight, so we may have stumped everybody. Tony, you want to throw a guess out there?
I know who did it.
Who do you think it is?
The Ultimate Warrior.
There you go. It is absolutely the Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior, the last belt he won was actually in a match in Australia, NWE World Heavyweight Champion. HBK from Johnny Martello. Close, Johnny, close.
Hey, they were in a Survivor Series team together.
Yes, this is true.
Johnny asked, how many belts do you have in your collection, Tony? I have over 80. 80. Over 80. Yeah.
That's all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Woo. Tony was telling me a couple of months ago that he was thinking about getting out of collecting and he wasn't going to buy any more belts, and you could hear Pakistan gasp.
Right, the country shut down when they heard that.
Yeah. So Gianni has me beat. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny, I call him Johnny.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on. All right. Well, we're at the point now where it is time for Tony's collectible. I can't speak tonight. Collectible of the. What you got for us this week, buddy?
I didn't think this through. I'm wearing a Hulk Hogan shirt, but it's not Hulk Hogan that I'm going to show. So this is the LJN Bret Hart. This is what you would have got with Jim the Anvil Neidhart when you were a kid, right? So what I've done, I've made a couple customs. I've done an all pink Bret the Hitman Hart. I haven't finished them yet. This is early. Some of these aren't finished yet.
Says this is Intercontinental Bret.
Yeah. Is that, yeah. And then I have hand painted. I did the lighter pants for Bret.
Nice.
On it. Did the line on the side. I have another Bret where I reversed the colors into the black trunks with the pink. The heart I did by myself. Gave him different sunglasses.
Right on.
And then this one here, most recently, this one had some bad body damage. I did this one though. And I painted the boots, as you can see. Painted the heart on the heart there. Yeah, the boots. I'm pretty happy with that star that I did by hand. All by hand. No decals, no stencils, no outlines. Nothing.
Nice.
Yeah. So I have 4 different custom Bret the Hitman Hearts because the original one you got was kind of sucky and boring. So I even if you look, I even did. See, this one has no bangs. I gave him some bangs.
Right on.
Yeah, there you go.
Right on.
Yeah,
I like your bangs. You guys must know what that came from. Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't.
And then speaking of Bret Hart, is a great segue. We are in Champions Belt Club. We are running a Friday fantasy booking tournament. Every Friday, we get the members of the page to vote on their favorite wrestler in the pair off that we do. We got everybody to vote on their favorite top 12 Intercontinental champions of all time. And this is the list that they came up with. So we had, in first place, we had Chris Jericho. Second place, Macho Man Randy Savage. Third was Razor Ramon. Fourth was Honky Tonk. Fifth was Hitman. Sixth was Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. We had Rick Rude. We have Eddie Guerrero. We had Gunther. One of the new faces made it into the championship. And we had Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels, and we had The Miz. We've had two matches thus far. The first being Razor Ramon and Rick Rude. Unfortunately, Rick Rude fell to Razor Ramon, or fortunately, depending on who you prefer. So Rick is out of the first round of the tournament. And we just recently had a match between Bret Hitman Hart and The Miz, and Bret absolutely destroyed The Miz. It was 100% votes in favor of Bret Hart. Miz did not make it through. This upcoming Friday, we are featuring a match between Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero and Shawn Michaels. So that'll be an interesting one. This is the bracket formation for the tournaments. Razor Ramon and Bret Hitman will be going up against each other in our 7th match of the tournament. Our 3rd match currently this week will be between Eddie Guerrero and Shawn Michaels. Who you got, guys? So if we had Shawn Michaels in his prime and Eddie Guerrero in his prime, who would you take?
I'm
hard one.
HBK because I always like Shawn's work.
HBK.
Yeah.
HBK. All right. So you guys heard it here first. We may. Let's see if prophecy fulfills itself. Let's see if HBK comes out on top this Friday. But 2 great champions, 2 great wrestlers. Always a hard choice when you've got these top 12 greatest of all time lists, because they're all wonderful wrestlers, all amazing. So it's hard to see any of them lose, but it'll be interesting to see what everybody chooses this Friday. So that pretty much covers everything I was going to cover tonight, guys. I think it's just open floor from this game. You guys should bring back the Honkamita.
What the heck is that?
The Honkamita.
I have no idea what he's talking about. But that's interesting that that Razor Ramon Rick Rude match that we had for the fantasy bookings was pretty close. That was
really close.
And then you see the next one coming up with Bret and The Miz, and Bret did something no one has done yet in these fantasy bookings. and won 100% landslide.
He's done really well in general in the group. So like we had our top 12 list. The first Friday Fantasy tournament we did was based on the
Top 12 wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, top 12 greatest wrestlers of all time. That list was based off of the magazine, off of
Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So we took their top 50 list and then shrank it down to the top 12, and we based that tournament off those wrestlers. And he almost won that tournament.
Didn't he win it?
Oh, he did. No, he did. Yeah, the folks had decided it was. Yeah, that's right. Brett won that tournament,
and they won the tag one.
Yeah, and they won the tag. Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom beat the Heart Foundation.
Yeah, Legion of Doom won. It came down to the Heart Foundation and Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
And then we had the top 12 current world champions, and it ended up being Jay White that ended up winning that tournament.
Oh, wow.
Who was at that time IWGP champion at that time. So, yeah, so it's been interesting, and so this is. Oh, sorry, get rid of that. It's been interesting. It's always kind of fun because you kind of get a temperature for what people are watching and what people are interested in. So, kind of interesting for sure. Yeah. So, is there anything in the chats or comments anybody wanted to ask Mr. Ben Walker tonight? Ben is an absolute encyclopedia of wrestling knowledge and
I know a
information.
little bit.
Ben knows a lot.
You guys should have a show just the two of you talking maybe 1 week.
It's 48 years of learning this stuff, and I'm still learning.
So Ben, I wanted to ask what sort of turned you on to Japanese wrestling and sort of especially in that time period when it was a little less popular in the 80s and the 90s.
Well, I grew up in Chicago, so they broadcast All Japan. We were able to watch All Japan in Chicago. So that's when All Japan, for a lot of people that don't know, All Japan for a while was the top wrestling company in Japan.
Yeah.
Because
they had that NWA affiliation.
They had the NWA affiliation. Baba had a lot of people that had he booked well in Japan. So they showed loyalty to Baba. So he were able to get the Stan Hansens and the Brodies and the Road Warriors and you know, he was able to book all of these
and having the NWA World Champion come over there and wrestle was a big deal too. So
and he would pick up a title reign here and there.
Yep.
But it's just I grew up with All Japan, and then just as the years progressed, New Japan started to close the gap, kind of like what Noah is doing to New Japan now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's when I got interested in, you know, and then the Road Warriors brought the international tags.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of helped the popularity. Yeah. Oh, I got a severe thunderstorm warning.
There you go.
There's just that popularity and just that attachment with the Road Warriors. You start seeing them in the American magazines as you know, this team, and then they came over and they started doing promos with these belts with chains dangling off of them.
Yeah,
those belts, you know, I have them now. Just the lure. I was lured in with Japanese wrestling, and from that point, I would say like the mid '80s, all the way to today. And I try to follow it as much as I can. For a while there, All Japan was hard to watch, especially after the whole thing with Muda leaving and you know the whole situation on how that went about. It just became a bland product as far as All Japan. But you know, Noah has, you know, like I said, closed the gap, and New Japan. New Japan has had a stranglehold with the Japanese market ever since their affiliation with WCW. So WCW kind of helped their exposure back in the early to mid 90s. Yeah. And that's when, you know, New Japan kind of took off.
Absolutely. For me, it was I kind of locked into the Japanese wrestling through Stampede Wrestling in Calgary, because we had access to that in Canada to be able to watch that. It was televised. So I was able to see Tiger Mask, and I was able to see Dynamite wrestle, and so that piqued my interest. Then I started seeing them in the magazines, started doing some tape trading, we didn't get the NWA access and the All Japan access in Canada that like you guys did in the States. So I had to kind of do the tape trading to sort of get a hold of some of that stuff. So started to follow that. Then right around that time, Muta showed up in WCW, NWA, WCW, and I sort of got into him and followed him back over to New Japan, and started watching All Japan and New Japan from that point on, and started keeping up with all of that wrestling over there, because you started seeing all the American wrestlers. That was really kind of the golden era for when the American wrestlers started coming over and working All Japan and working in New Japan. So yeah, definitely love that strong style and love the Kings Road style. So
yep. And people don't understand those styles, and it's more of a technique.
Yes, and a booking style too.
In a booking style, yeah.
Like when you talk about Kings Road, you're really talking about sort of the way that they upgrade their moves as they kind of go through different feuds with people. So yeah, love it. So you'd love that, Tony. I mean, if you're a video game fan and you love strong style or high impact wrestling, Kings Road is definitely going to be your thing. You'd love it. It's kind of because it kind of plays out like a video game. Like you have move sets that you can escalate as your feuds get more intense and more dramatic.
Huh.
So like almost every wrestler has like a 5 finishing moves or 4 finishing moves, and they can kind of upgrade through them.
No leg drops.
A couple of leg drops sometimes.
Yeah, and then you started seeing the garbage style. Or the trash style, or the death match, what they refer to as death match, that started to be in the alternative in Japan.
Yeah.
What FMW and Nita, even Muta got kind of tied into
he did,
over there. And just that style, that extreme style. I mean, we started to take hold of it here in the United States, but they did over in Japan also.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to do a whole show on this for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely make that a priority. Gianni had a question here. I've left up. He had a question: was Owen Hart a better wrestler than Bret? He says yes. He's not talking championships, but talking actual talent and ability. I think he was probably a more versatile wrestler than Bret for sure. Like I think he worked more styles before he got to the WWF than Bret had. Bret definitely did time in Puerto Rico and did some time in Japan for sure. He had his tours before the WWF, but I think Owen probably got a little bit more exposure on the international scene before he ended up sort of in doing his major tenure in the WWF. So I'd say he was definitely probably a little more versatile in terms of what he could do with different work styles. I think I would say for sure. I don't know about I'm not sure about his ring psychology compared to Bret. I think Bret had a better understanding of how to sell, and also how to sort of tie moves together, timing, things like that. I just felt like he had his stuff. I go back and look at Bret's stuff now, and it still looks believable.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the reasons as we go a little further along historically and get further away from the 90s, his stuff is still, I think one of the reasons he's so revered now and so popular right now is that when people are going back and looking at his stuff, it looks realistic. It looks believable. There's intensity and impact to what he does. And some of his other wrestlers in that time period didn't have that. And I think that sort of sets him apart a bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bret's the better wrestler. And I hate to say this, but like Bret would say, I think Bret would probably say Owen was the best, but Owen broke Steve Austin's neck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never ever heard about, like, Bret never hurt anybody. Like, he didn't hurt, so yeah, see, Gianni's right. Bret even said Owen was better. He did say that, but you know what, Gianni? Owen broke Steve Austin's neck, and I know it wasn't a work. He was the hottest thing going, right?
Yeah.
Bret never dropped anyone on their head or their neck, and look, it was a freak accident, but
I got a chance to see some of Bret's early stuff in Stampede, and you could see that he was talented, but he wasn't the same kind of athlete that you could see like Owen's early stuff in Stampede. He was just there was an explosiveness and a balance and and athleticism that Owen had that Brett didn't have. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if I'd call him a better wrestler, but definitely a better athlete. I think he was just
Right.
a better athlete.
Yeah.
I think he had a better base of athleticism to work from.
Yeah. Owen was doing stuff that they're doing today. Back, nobody did. Like nobody
No.
did stuff that Owen was doing back then. When he was
Yeah.
laser, and you look at like I remember when I was a kid. I don't know about you, Ben. When you watched the WWF back then, the only other person that was doing stuff that Owen was doing was Coco Beware.
Yeah.
Who they
And
who
they
he
put in the
teamed
tag
with.
team. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
high
And-
energy.
Yeah, and they and you know, back then that was the era of the steroid big muscle power guy, and that's why, like, if he's were the flipping, you know, the guy that would do the flips, the high spots that Coco Beware and the Blue Blazer Owen Hart did, that's why they would come across almost weak. They would get squashed more. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Like when you go back and look at old matches, and Coco Beware and Owen, they do all these flips and they do all these high spots and these moves. The fans will be losing their minds. But then Hercules would hit one of them with a clothesline or something, or a body slam, and they were toast.
Right.
That was WWE at that time, though. I mean, it was the same thing with the Rockers when they came in. They were doing some tandem stuff that WWE hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And they'd throw together these amazing move sets, and then they'd just get clotheslined out of their boots.
Yeah.
So, you know, like that. I mean, that clothesline, that famous clothesline of One Man Game, Akeem clotheslining Michaels off the ropes.
It looks
I
like
mean, it looks like his soul leaves his body.
Yeah.
Like he puts him right down through the mat. It's ugly. So like that was pretty common. That was pretty common booking at that time.
Gianni says I can't disqualify him for that. That was an accident. But see, here's the thing. You got to be safe. The number one rule is you have to be safe. Right?
Yeah.
You got to be safe for you and for the person you're working with. And
well, there's the difference between what we perceive as being a technical wrestler and what wrestlers consider to be technique, which isn't kind of the same thing. Like you can go through chain wrestling and you can say that guy's an amazing chain wrestler. He can put one move to the next move to the next move, next move, and he's smooth in the ring and he flows and he looks like a great technical wrestler. Whereas a wrestler talking to another wrestler, when they're talking about somebody who's great in the ring and who has great technique, it's more about how they protect people and how they can make stuff look believable without touching you.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's, you know, Ric Flair always used to talk about how when he was training with Vern, he would put a string up in his apartment with a can on it, and he would practice punching it for hours and try not to move the can. And stuff like that, and sort of figuring out how to work in a way that doesn't cause harm or doesn't cause damage and things like that. So from a industry perspective, being a great worker is less about being able to chain wrestle and more about being able to sort of work safe and work believable at the same time.
Yeah,
Right.
no, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. So it just depends on what people mean by that. I think that gets blurred or confused sometimes when we as fans talk about it and we say, well, who are the greatest technical wrestlers of all time or the great technical artists in it? I always want to sort of qualify that question.
Like, and a lot of people don't say this name, and I don't know why not. Kurt Angle.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, how do you leave his name out of technical wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh.
And when have we ever seen anybody that acclimated from legitimate Greco-Roman or freestyle wrestling into professional wrestling and all that entails that naturally and that quickly? I mean, it's unheard of. And I mean, we've seen other wrestlers that have come from other sports backgrounds who couldn't acclimate like he did. He's just a natural.
And you know, people just disregard him. Like, how do you leave Kurt Angle out of that conversation?
Yeah.
Like, I always consider him one of the greatest champions of all time. And then when I use the word champions, I'm talking in general, the whole wrestling, you know, pro wrestling, amateur wrestling, just as a whole. I mean, you had what's his name from the NWA back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Luthez?
Not Luthez. He was junior heavyweight champion.
Oh,
It'll
he
come to
was-
me. But you know, you had guys like that came from that background,
yeah.
and you know, for Kurt Angle to have come in and naturally just take to the sport
Mm-hmm.
was great. I mean, I always had
Yeah.
you know, big respect to Kurt Angle. 'Cause,
Definitely
you know,
one of my. Definitely one of my. He's definitely on my Mount Rushmore of top technical
and then
wrestlers.
he
for sure.
showed charisma. I mean, he was kind of bland at first when he first got there.
Yeah.
But he built that character, and as he progressed more, and it shows that he was getting, you know, he's getting
Yeah.
help in the backstage area.
By the time he was wearing like mini cowboy hats and partnering with Austin, it was friggin' hilarious. I mean, he
Right.
really figured it out by then.
Yeah,
Danny Hodge.
Danny Hodge.
There you go. Thank you, Mark.
Hey,
Thank
Mark.
you.
Yeah, Danny Hodge.
Did
Yeah,
Kurt
there's-
Angle and Kurt Hennig ever work together?
Who?
Mr. Perfect. Did him and Kurt Angle ever work?
I don't
don't
think,
think
so.
so.
No, I don't
No,
think
Brock
they ever would have.
Lesnar and Mr. Perfect did.
Yeah, on a plane.
Oh, he had a match too where he beat him.
Yeah.
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 It was
Early
a
days.
non-televised,
And again,
yeah.
Kurt's another Kurt is another one of my, like, I would put, like, he was just so smooth in the ring. Like everything he did just had such great flow, and
I mean, he would
was
take a
logical.
clothesline. He would take a clothesline over the top rope and do that. The most
Yeah,
athletic flip on the outside you would see
Yeah.
besides Shawn Michaels. Like, damn,
Yeah.
man, that looked like that hurt.
yeah,
He made it look like, you know, he'd been doing it for years.
yeah. No, great wrestlers. Yeah, it's always interesting. I love to pick other wrestling fans' brains about that, because I'm always interested how people perceive technical wrestling and what they think technical wrestling is. So it's
Right.
interesting. Yeah. It's
You
really
know what I always
interesting.
found funny is like if you took like William Regal, who's another fantastic wrestler,
Yeah.
Great one.
Dean Malenko.
Yeah, Dean's great too. Yeah,
But
for sure.
Dean Malenko couldn't draw like the Ultimate Warrior,
No.
right?
Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior is one of the worst wrestlers ever, but look at the draw he had. So that's the beauty of wrestling to me. And me and my coach talked about this, because what's more important, being good or being able to draw,
Right.
right?
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I think made Kurt kind of special, because I think, you know, that's somebody that, because you're figuring, or somebody like a Brett, or somebody like a Kurt
Owen.
Hennig, or somebody like these people that come along that have the athleticism. They can make you interested. They can make you believe the athleticism and the violence, and they can make you hate them or love them or whatever they need you to do, you know. And that's the amazing thing. I work. I don't know if people in the hobby know this, but my business is my day-to-day. My job is theater and acting work and performance work and stuff like that. And I produce shows and direct shows and do stuff like that. And I always tell people I work with, the first theater I ever saw was wrestling. That was the first theater I actually ever saw was wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, so understanding, being able to master both ends of that is, I think, what separates the OKs from the greats.
You always had those people say, "Oh, wrestling is fake." It was like everything on TV is fake. So
Yeah.
why you trying to talk about?
That's like going to a movie and going, it was all right, but it was
Right.
fake.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's staged. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's that theatrics, it's the presentation.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
Hulkamanias and the Macho Man and the Macho Madness and the Ultimate Warriors, and you know, then you had the crazies like the Bruiser Brodies. You know, used to love that man coming to the ring. He swing that chain,
Swinging that chain
and
around.
you hear huff, huff. Yeah, that's all you would hear coming stomping down to the ring. Stuff
Yeah.
like that, man. And we grew up in that era when we had the crazies, the Mad Dog and Butcher Vachons, and you know, I'm telling my
Hell yeah.
age. I'm telling my age.
Abdullah the
Abdul
Butcher.
right?
Yeah.
Telling my age.
Yeah.
And you know, you guys, we all experienced that, and that was
Yeah.
great. You know,
Yeah.
I never understood the Bruiser Brody fascination, but I never watched the NWA back then, or the AWA, or whatever.
He was just so different than everybody else. Like he wasn't doing anything the
Was he
same as
heel?
every. Usually, but not always. Sometimes, but
usually when he was in world class, he was a face.
Yeah, it depended on where he was wrestling. So
because he would be in he
Yeah.
would always be an ally of the Von Erichs.
yeah.
So,
But he would be in promotions where like wrestling outside of the ring didn't happen, and his whole match would be outside of the ring.
right.
Oh, okay.
Like he was doing hardcore stuff before there really was hardcore
Mhm.
stuff, and yeah,
I've
he was
yeah,
he was like an event. He was like an attraction, like an Andre or an Abdullah, or like these guys would show up and explode territories because everybody would want to see what they were going to do live, because they would do these crazy stuff. So
yeah, because I've heard lots of people talk about Bruiser Brody, and even in the my LJN community, there's guys that have made like how I've made custom figures. One of the most popular ones is Bruiser Brody. And even Abdullah the Butcher gets made quite a bit too, but
yeah,
I never really.
Well, their matches are pretty legendary. Like they pretty much danced all over the country in Japan and Japan and down in Puerto Rico. Like people would pair them up all the time. Like they wrestled all over the place together. So
I find it interesting though, because it's like, is it wrestling or is it just a bloodbath? Like it's just like the hardcore style, and then it goes back to, again, like talking about the technical wrestlers versus a guy like Ultimate Warrior who didn't know what a clothesline. He could barely, he did like 3 things in the ring and shake the ropes. But anyways, I digress. We should definitely have to have Ben on again though, and you guys could do a show, and I'll just sit and eat popcorn learning about.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on tonight, Ben. It was an absolute pleasure, man, having you on.
Thank you. It was great talking to you guys. Like I said, I watch you guys, your lives and your videos and your presentation, and I always, you always grab my attention. So it's an honor and a privilege. Thank you guys for having me on here with me.
Absolutely, sir. It's absolutely, and I definitely learned something tonight, and I know a lot of people watching did as well. So thank you very much. So without further ado, I'm going to say thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thanks for hanging out in the comments and talking to us and connecting with us. Yeah, Brody versus Carlos. That's a great feud. Really appreciate you guys being with us tonight. Really appreciate all the feedback and the comments, and hope you guys have a fantastic week. And go out there and watch some wrestling, man. This is a great time to be a wrestling fan, so enjoy yourselves. Without further ado, peace.
Yeah.